Look, fam, I want to start off this episode with a serious question. And that question is, what is better than one Not Just Guns Phoenix Trinity collaboration EX0 Pro? That would be two of those things. Stop playing with your boy. All right, fam, look, we got a good one for you today. We are doubling up. We are doubling up on Phoenix Trinity and Not Just Guns exclusive. So look, fam, real quick, I want to give a shout out to Not Just Guns for sending out these two guns. The Phoenix Trinity EX0 Pro 5-inch version compensated and the 4 1/4 ported version. Look, look, fam, look, let's do this. Let's take these bad boys over to the Tactical Formulary work desk and give you guys a closer look at it. All right, fam, here we are at the Tactical Formulary work desk, and we have got some sexy beasts sitting out. Both of these offerings from Phoenix Trinity, both of these exclusive to Not Just Guns. Why don't we start with the EX0 5-inch? That bad boy is compensated. Let me let you get a good look at that compensator. Look, fam, when it comes to comps, Phoenix Trinity knows what they are doing. You know, I have that H-Tac. It runs crazy good. I got the Honcho V2, also runs amazing. Also, both of those compensated guns, they really have mastered the art of the comp. This gun is silver and black DLC hard anodized, and obviously outfitted with the X300 and the RMR HD. It's got those ambi thumb safeties on both sides, no grip safety, and that is blended very, very well. That slide is silky smooth, and I would say that that's relatively consistent with my experience with Phoenix Trinity guns. All right, now let's take a look at the 4 1/4 XO EDC. This has a huge hawking chunk port on the front of the firearm. Again, no grip safety, outfitted this time with an SRO and an X300, ambi thumb safeties on both sides. Again, silver and black DLC coated. Look, fam, this bad boy feels really nice. I am not, if you guys watch the channel know, I'm not a big 4 1/4 guy. I'm more like a 4.5, 4.6 or a full size 5-inch gun. But yeah, if I were looking for a 4 1/4, this would definitely be something that I would be considering. Again, I think very, very well done by them. But look, that's it for the tabletop review. Let's jump into the actual review. All right, fam, look, let's get into the review. If you haven't seen the 2A NLA review, pretty simple and straightforward. 0 is the worst possible score. 100 is the best possible score. I've never had a gun get a 0. Only had one gun in the history of the channel get a 100. Look, if you get something that's 50 to 60, that's a right down the middle gun. Gonna go bang every time. Gonna be very reliable. Just not a lot of feels or thrills. If you get something like 60 to 70, okay, that gun may have a feature or two that separate itself from the norm. If you get something 70 to 80, oh, okay, now you're cooking with a little bit of gas. That's more of a feature-rich gun, and there has to be some quality about that gun that really makes it stand out. You get something, you know, kind of 80 to 89, now we're talking about best-in-class type guns, and if you get something 90 and above, that's grill gun status. All right, fam, first up, fit and finish. Look, as I said at the work desk, you've got a steel slide, a steel frame, aluminum grip. It's DLC coated, and I gotta say, fam, well done. So look, I am not here to bash any company. I just want to give you guys honest information. One of the criticisms that people have had about Phoenix Trinity guns historically is that they don't do the best job with QC. But I can tell you that when I got my Honcho V2, that gun was machined incredibly and fitted incredibly well. And that is what I'm seeing from these guns too. There is no wiggle. Slide to frame fit is great. Barrel fitment is great. Grip to frame fitment is great. No wobble. And when you have guns with tolerances that are this tight, oftentimes you'll see that, you know, there is some grit or some tightness, or the slide locks up the fan. This slide rack silky smooth. And as I also mentioned at the Tactical Formulary work desk, they do compensators at Phoenix Trinity right. They've had a lot of experience with them over the years, the H-Tac and that whole H series of guns. Then you got the Honcho, and now this one, you know, this collaboration featured by Not Just Guns. I think they really did a good job with the fit and finish on this. I would also argue that same sentiment for the 4 1/4 model. This one, of course, is chunk ported with that big chunk port, fam. I gotta say, yeah, they did a really nice job with the fit and finish on both of these guns. So look, for fit and finish on the 5" and the 4 1/4, we're gonna give that a 14 out of a possible 15. All right, fam, next up, reliability. Look, I put 1,000 rounds through each of these guns. I shot the hell out of them. I'm not gonna lie, fam. I shot the hell out of these guns. And with the exception of maybe, I'm trying to remember, I think there were, out of those 2,000 rounds, there were maybe 2 malfunctions. And that is very good for that many rounds. And those very well could have been ammo related. There were no big deals. For the most part, they ran pretty much flawlessly. So for reliability, we're going to give these both a 14 out of a possible 15. Next up, durability. Look, so as I mentioned, fam, look, DLC coated with that hard anodization on it. Steel frame, steel slide, aluminum grip. Look, I think it's a very durable gun. The only thing that you should be aware of relative to Phoenix Trinity guns, they have this linkless barrel, right? It's a special system. It's a little off the beaten path from typical 2011s. And usually when I hear about Phoenix Trinity guns having issues, that linkless barrel piece is the cause of it. That's the source of it most of the time. So you have to keep it really well lubed, and particularly because that part isn't readily available. Now, a lot of people will use that as an excuse to opt for another purchase. I would say you could always replace that part from Phoenix Trinity. A machine shop could machine it for you. Would that be a pain? A new one for you? Would that be a pain? Sure. That's the only thing, though, the only drawback. Now, I'll say this. I've had my H-TAC for a long time, got a lot of rounds through it, have had no problem. Been shooting the hell out of my Honcho V2, no problem. Shot the hell out of these two. And these were also test guns that were sent out by Not Just Guns to other reviewers, and they put a lot of rounds through them. No issues as well here. But just something to be cognizant of. Look, for durability, we're going to give them both 13 out of a possible 15. All right, fam. Next up, trigger. Look, Phoenix Trinity, generally speaking, in my experience, does a pretty darn good job with their triggers. So I'll let you look at that. You got a tad bit of take up, not much at all. Clear, defined wall. Crisp, clean break. Look at the reset. Forceful reset. Look. Phoenix Trinity. Like I said, fam, I think if I've said this many times, I've said it when I've done my tiers. In my opinion, given their tenure in the marketplace and given their experience, Phoenix Trinity used to supply gun parts to Atlas back in the day, not too long ago. They should really be on GOAT level. If they can just, fix kind of their public relations issues, and I already feel like they're getting better and better based on the guns that I've seen recently. They're getting better and better and better in terms of their fitment. They were always amazing shooters. Look, I think they're doing a good job. Again, I'll put the trigger pull weight up there, but for trigger, we're going to give these bad boys a 14 out of a possible 15. All right, fam. Next up is accuracy. Look, fam. When I give you my accuracy score, as I've said many times in the past, it's not just about barrel accuracy, because you can have a very accurate barrel, but when accuracy is really tested is when you start doing double taps, when you start doing bill drills, when you start shooting at higher levels of speed. How easy is it to maintain that barrel accuracy? So I take all of that into consideration. And with that said, obviously, a 5-inch frame, 4.8-inch barrel-ish, plus a compensator. That gun at higher rates of speed is just easier. The additional weight, barrel length, etc., just easier to shoot than a 4 1/4. This is one of the reasons why, I don't know, I am not a huge 4 1/4 guy. Now some people, because look, if I'm buying a 4 1/4, I'm thinking about carry, right? But if I want to carry, to be honest, I want a gun that's sub 4 inches, preferably something that's 3.5 or less. So 4 1/4 is still a big carry gun for me. Now some people will carry this no problem. No problem at all. But I'm just saying, for me personally, I like a smaller gun for carry. And if I'm not carrying it, then I want to kind of maximize the shooting experience. So I'm far more partial to a 4.5, 4.6 gun or a full-size 5-inch gun. That said, both were very accurate guns. I'm giving certainly the edge to the 5-inch. For accuracy, we're going to give the 5-inch gun 9 out of a possible 10, and we're going to give the 4 1/4 8 out of a possible 10. All right, fam. Next up, ergonomics. So it's quick story time. Quick story time. First Phoenix Trinity gun I ever bought was my Phoenix Trinity H-Tac. I love that gun, but it came. It's not a polymer grip. It was, I think it was a metal grip, maybe an aluminum grip, but it was kind of wrapped in this Kevlar tape or whatever. I didn't love it. I wanted a traditional aluminum grip module. And they were making this Evo grip at the time, and I felt it on another gun. I was like, oh my God, this grip is amazing. It's amazing. I love the way it feels. And so I was trying, me lowly little YouTuber that I am, especially at that time, I was trying to get Phoenix Trinity to get me an Evo grip. They were so behind though in production. It was taking so long. I ended up going another route. But I see why I was so enamored with that grip, because this is a great feeling grip. It is like the texture is almost perfection in my book. I love it. Has just enough grit to it, but not so much where it's tearing your skin up. They do an excellent job blending underneath that beaver tail in the back. There are no rough, to be honest, no real rough spots or hot spots on the gun anywhere to be found. So I'm digging that too. I think, you know, ergonomics of the gun are very, very good. Now again, kind of the difference between the 5-inch frame version and the 4 1/4. A little bit small, same grip, same texturing on the grip. I love that, but always harder to handle a 4 1/4. Lighter weight, tends to be a little bit more snappy, etc. Usually a little bit shorter, smaller grip module. But look, these Evo grips are phenomenal. So look, for the 5-inch version, we're going to give that a 10 out of 10. And for the 4 1/4, we're going to give it a 9 out of 10. All right, these next two categories, we're just going to kind of lump them together. Aftermarket support, maintenance, and upkeep. Look, 2011 market is what the 2011 market is. I swear, you guys, I am this close to start giving the 2011 market 5 out of 5 for aftermarket support. This close. Then I got to go back and rescore all of my 2011 scores. But that's okay. It's coming. It's coming. And for maintenance and upkeep, look, every 1,000 rounds or so, break it down, clean it out. You'll be good to go. It's very critical with these Phoenix Trinity guns, to keep them oiled properly. That will prevent issues relative to their barrel system. But look, I think maintenance and upkeep also, you know, relatively easy. It's not a Glock, but it's a typical 2011. So 4 out of 5 for aftermarket support, 4 out of 5 for maintenance and upkeep. All right, fam. Next up, affordability. Look, fam, I'll go ahead and I'll put the MSRPs up there. These are not inexpensive guns. And so, look, oftentimes what we get wrapped up in is, and rightfully so, okay, at this price point, what other, are there better options for you? one of the things that I like about these two is the exclusivity. Like I said, this is just a Not Just Guns release. You can't find these anywhere else except for Not Just Guns. And so I love the fact that there's some exclusivity here, that the guns will be relatively unique. You aren't going to see these in everybody's hands. Something to be said for about this. I think the quality of the guns are really, really good. Is this the gun for you at this price point? You have to decide that. But no doubt about it, the guns are very well done. That said, the prices are high for affordability. 2 out of a possible 5. All right, last but not least, flex. Is Instagram gonna go crazy? Or your boy's gonna be like, damn? Are all the honeys at the range gonna want to shoot your gun? Hell yeah. Hell to the yes. Stop playing. Do you see these bad boys? Look, very, very well done. Kudos to Phoenix Trinity and kudos to Not Just Gun. These are 2 sexy beasts. For a flex, we're gonna give them 4 out of a possible 5. All right, Cam, you add all of that up. The 5-inch compensated version gets an 88 out of a possible 100, and the 4 1/4 gets an 86 out of a possible 100. I told you, fam, if you're between 80 to 89 and specifically 85 to 89, we're talking about best in class firearms, and I think that's exactly what you have here. Look, like I said, fam, I have 2 Phoenix Trinity guns now. My H-Tac is just a monster. And the Honcho V2, I've said it many, many times, most fun you can have with a 9mm handgun. And look, these guns were a blast to shoot. I hope you were able to, glean some of that from the shooting footage. But look, again, thanks to our friends at Not Just Guns for getting these out to the channel for review. I'm loving it, loving it, loving it. Look, there's no doubt, fam, if I didn't already have an H-Tac, and I think there's a lot of H-Tac DNA in this gun, I would definitely be looking to pick one of these guns up just for me. So look, hopefully, I don't know if I can give a better endorsement than I would spend and have spent my hard-earned money on Phoenix Trinity guns. But look, I'm loving, loving, loving these 2 firearms. All right, that's it for this episode, fam. Until next time, as always, take care of one another and peace.